Commence primary ignition.
This is where the fun begins.
What is up, all of you Ugnaughts and Jawas out there, and welcome back to yet again another episode of Mando Talk. And I am so excited for this, because not only do we finally have the return of DJ Foster at Rebel Scum Texan on Twitter. He's been gone for a minute. Can't wait to hear from him regarding his thoughts on the ending of Obi-Wan Kenobi. But we have a really special guest that we have been stoked about in this little reflection of Obi-Wan Kenobi that we're going to get to do tonight. It is PALPAMEMES. PALPAMEMES, so glad that you're here. What's up? How's it going?
Hello there. I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Great. Thrilled to finally talk about this with you and get a different take from somebody that admittedly is pretty solidly known on the YouTube Star Wars verse, if you will. You know, so you got great things going on. I binge watched a lot of your content today, and I saw the Luke Skywalker lightsaber video.
Oh, that was my most recent one. Yes.
Dude,
yeah,
that is sick. The only lightsaber I have is the Cal Kestis one.
I'm getting a new one.
Oh, nice.
Hey, there you
Another
go.
one.
There you go.
Pretty excited for this one. So
That's really exciting.
Be on the lookout.
Really exciting for sure. DJ, what's up, man?
I'm just living. I mean, nothing real new to report. You know, I'm here. I'm glad to be here. I've got my Obi-Wan shirt, although you can't tell because, you know, low quality camera, but my shirt, the design is kind of like shipping off, which would mean I got ripped off on Amazon. But that's what I get, I guess, for trying to find a remake of a 20-year-old piece of Star Wars merch, you know?
Sure.
Because this is Attack of the Clones, Ewan, which ended up actually being very beneficial given the incredible flashback we got.
There you go.
Was that episode 4, 5?
Five.
Yeah, man, I still kind of can't get over
that,
honestly.
And part 5 is where you were on the show last for part 4. So I have I know how you feel about the show overall, obviously, because we talk off air. But I can't wait to get to part 5 specifically and part 6 to start getting your thoughts, because, you know, I just haven't really heard from you. But also, hello there to everybody in the chat. John Hare, Blue Harvest Bricks, Blue Milk Mama, and of course Palpamemes is there as well, saying hello there. I love it. I love the little hello there trend we got going on. Yeah, DJ, where are you at? Now. Where are you at, man? Can't wait to kind of discuss this thing with you guys as well. Thank you so much for being here. If you're new here and you would enjoy to join a Star Wars community that's positive, hit the subscribe button. You know, we finally hit that 200 sub number. Let's break that next wall. 300 sub number is next. Let's do this thing. But I'm now ready to do this thing of actually getting into the stuff. You ready, folks? The stuff.
It's more than the stuff.
It's good stuff. It's good soup.
Good soup.
All right. Well, we have a new guest, of course, here, Palpamemes. We always like to ask these 2 questions before we get going, just to kind of break that little, you know, it's like a little icebreaker for all Star Wars fans. Sure. These 2 kind of questions, we might ask them slightly differently here and there, but can't wait to hear your responses on these. Here's the first question for you specifically, Palpamemes. What is your go-to Star Wars film or television episode to put you in the proper Star Wars state of mind?
Ooh, can I choose 2?
Do it.
Why not?
Rise of Skywalker or Revenge of the Sith.
I like
It's a solid combo.
Both have the most Star Wars of the Star Wars feel that you can ever feel or imagine. Look, like or hate the movies, whatever. But I mean, Star Wars, at my personal opinion, at its best is in those 2 movies, and it's probably got the most heart in them. And I say heart loosely with Revenge of the Sith because it's kind of a very dark movie, but the heart that was put into the story, I should say, is very felt within that.
I really like that. And someone new here in the chat saying the Cloney boy no, don't ask him about the Rise of Skywalker. I feel like there's something I'm missing
dog.
here.
He's my home dog, Clone Boy. Him and I have good history together.
We need more people to praise the Rise of Skywalker anyway. So you're out there doing the work. What is that? What does your shirt say? Mm-hmm. Just Skywalker with that's Rey's yellow lightsaber. Yeah. Let's freaking go. I will say, man, when they released that yellow lightsaber through the Hasbro line, that was sick. Yeah, you know, I haven't seen one in person, but man, it's sick.
I've got one, but it's not theirs. It's a NeoPixel one.
Hey, you still got one. I mean,
they're a lot nicer than the Hasbro Black Series and stuff.
For sure,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
I
mean,
prefer those.
I feel like the Rise of Skywalker, I still love. Like, I enjoy watching it like crazy, but it is one of those that it's like hit or miss on if people really enjoyed it or not. I really don't know why, because I really like kind of how you said it perfectly. The Rise of Skywalker has a lot of heart, and at the end of the day, that's what Star Wars is all about. So, I mean, that's not shocking to me, at least. But of course, I love your selection of Revenge of the Sith as well. I mean,
come on.
After this show, after Obi-Wan Kenobi, it might officially need to replace this Empire Strikes Back poster that I've had back here, because that's always been my favorite. My favorite. But
wow,
Revenge of the Sith, every time I go back to it, it just keeps getting better and better. So maybe that needs to be my new go-to for sure. All right, second question. Who is your favorite Star Wars character?
Luke Skywalker.
Quick to it.
No hesitation
just
whatsoever.
Right there.
You already saw this video.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Come on. He's the best character. He is the main character. I know people say Anakin, but I think it's Luke. When you take in all three trilogies, the main... Luke has more of an impact on the story than any other character, I'll say.
Yes, I'll give you that for sure.
I'll say he is the main character when it comes to the three trilogies overall.
So is he your favorite because he's the main character?
No, I think he's the most well written and has the best.
Okay.
Arcs. Yeah, I think he's just I just think he's the best character. He's the one I relate to the most, the one I look up to, and I love Anakin and all that, but Anakin's not really someone you want to look up to, you know. So there's the kind of that line. Anakin's a phenomenal character. Don't get me wrong, I love Anakin.
Yeah.
But Luke is just something special where, you know, I look up to him. I'm like, I want to be like that, you know. A guy from Tatooine, some random place, you know, becomes one of the greatest Jedi to ever live, you know, stuff like that.
That's great. I love that response. So how did, just real quickly, just bouncing off that, how did the end of the Mandalorian season 2 hit for you then?
Oh man. Well, you can see I've got this right here, which I know you can't really see, but it's R2 looking down at Grogu.
Oh, wow.
And I've got that right there. I mean, because I was working 8 to 3. 8 in the morning to 3 o'clock. So, you know, Disney Plus shows that come out in the middle of the night. And so I delete all of my social medias and stuff. So it's a long day at work and a little office job whenever you don't have your phone. Okay. Anyone who works an office job understands that. And so I decided I'm not going to get spoiled. And so I got home, me and my brother turned it on our TV. And I was loving the episode so far. The Moff Gideon Darksaber fight. I mean, it was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And then that X-Wing came in. And I remember specifically my brother was like, he goes, "What kind of X-Wing is that?" And I looked and I was like, "Oh, immediately I knew. My Star Wars brain just went off. I'm like, that's not a Resistance X-Wing or a New Republic X-Wing." I'm like, "Duh, wait. That's a original trilogy X-Wing." And I was like, "No way are they doing this." And then they did it.
I tried to deny it personally.
I was like,
I was just like, "There's no way."
Is that Ahsoka maybe or Cal Kestis? Cal would have been cool. But then it was Luke and I jumped. I mean, we were hollering it. I've seen that scene so many times.
Oh yeah.
It was just phenomenal.
Okay. So because Luke's your favorite, I need to show you something I have, and it sits behind me, and it usually sits literally behind me. No one really sees it, but I have this reprint of Vader versus Luke concept art from Return of the Jedi. That I don't know if you can see it real well because of my horrible angle and whatever. There's that. So there it is. But
that is sweet.
Weirdly enough, so my parents are like antique store, garage sale, estate sale people. Found this at an estate sale with other concept art from Return of the Jedi. That was it's obviously a reprint. If I was in possession of a real concept art piece, I would never stop telling people. But because Luke's your favorite, I was like, you got to see this. This is the coolest thing.
That's awesome.
It's one of the coolest things I own. So anyway, there's that.
Well, thank you for showing.
All right. Well, I don't have anything to show, man. I mean,
I like your Din Djarin behind you.
You have a cardboard standee, Caleb. Like
I do.
That trumps like everything.
I do. I should just put him in my seat and just kind of bounce off and just let y'all take over.
Just make it feel like you still have the mic, but you have to pretend you're Din Djarin.
There you go. That's a good idea. That's a neat idea. All right. Well, I see Bling Bling Play says can't be here. I'm in an event. Well, I appreciate you, Bling Bling.
You should leave your
taking
event.
the time. Yeah. I mean, Mando Talk, whatever. No, I get it, Bling Bling. Life happens, but I appreciate you taking the time to throw that in the chat and making sure that we saw your support. Yes. Appreciate that for sure. All right. Well, I mean, I'm ready. What I've done here, and we can kind of go about it this way, and we'll kind of just see how it goes. I took the time to go back and rewatch the entire Kenobi series, and I tried to make like 4 to 5, maybe even 6 or 7 once I got to the finale, bullet points of like key things to reflect on in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series that I know I spent a lot of time talking about. DJ parts 1 through 4 spent a lot of time talking about, but since DJ has kind of been gone the past couple of weeks, I figured this would be a great opportunity for me to honestly kind of take a little bit of a back seat as far as Mando Talk goes. I'm just going to kind of facilitate this discussion because I more so want to hear PALPAMEMES, and I'm sure that's why a lot of you guys are checking out this episode and this stream. So going to go through a lot of these questions, facilitate this discussion, and hopefully we have a lot of great reflection moments and realizations and things that make me feel great about the series and things that make me feel even maybe slightly better about, of course I did share some criticisms of some things, but overall, I've loved this thing and I can't wait to get this thing going. All right. So part 1, here are some things to discuss just real quickly. One of the things that I immediately stood out to me, Grand Inquisitor. I get why he couldn't be featured in the series more, but I really enjoyed Rupert Friend's portrayal of the Grand Inquisitor, and I wish he had been in the series more overall, just because I loved his portrayal so much. So I know that was one thing that was kind of up in the air before the show started because people didn't like the way that he looked. He didn't really match the way his character looked in Rebels. So that's my first kind of reflection question is, how do we feel about the performance of Old Grandy in comparison to the character's portrayal in Rebels? And I don't, DJ, PALPAMEMES, whichever one, whoever wants to roll with it.
You go first, PALPAMEMES. Sure. You're the guest.
Sure. I actually made a video on this because I'm very much in the middle ground of it. For me, it's a disappointment that it's not that accurate. Now, granted, I made this video before Kenobi even came out. But I gotta say, after the series as a whole, first of all, Rupert Friend did a phenomenal job as him. I love his, I think it's episode 5, I want to say, that awkward camera shot where he's just looking down on Reva, who just got stabbed, and he's like, hello. It's just perfect. It's just so, I don't know, it's just so good. But as for the design, I was like, yeah, it could have been a lot better, but it doesn't break the story. It doesn't really break it for me. It's one of those, like, it could have been better, but it's not, it doesn't ruin the show. I felt like, my take on it from before the show came out was that everyone on both sides was overreacting. And that's kind of the main point I made in the videos. Everyone's like, you've got the people complaining about people complaining, and then you got the people complaining, right? So it's just this nonstop loop of complainers complaining about things and each other. And it's like, guys, it's a problem, but it's not that big of a deal, like, okay. So after watching it, I thought episode 1 looked kind of bad. We know that was their first day of shooting, and so that could have had part to do with it, but also the lighting on episode 1 is very flat lighting, just Tatooine and stuff. But episode 2, I really like the way he looked in episode 2 because you have this nice kind of unidimensional, I don't know if that's the right word, but better lighting, I should say, better coloring and stuff, where it really helps the features and stuff pop out more. So I didn't mind it from there on out, but I liked him. Caleb, you said that you wish you saw more of him. I agree with that. I am on the end. I wish we saw more of the fourth brother. I really like the fourth brother, and I wish we got to see him do more and have more of a presence.
The fifth brother?
Did I say
I think you're thinking of fourth sister.
Okay, yeah.
Fourth sister.
Too many Inquisitors.
There's too many of them.
It's so hard to keep up
I get the
with.
second sister, the fifth. I'll get them all mixed up. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. I wish we saw more of him because I liked him, and they have a really cool audio thing going on with his voice, where his voice has a very weird bass kind of sub hit to it.
I noticed
kind of
that.
rumbles. It's really, I don't know why they did it, but it's cool.
I noticed that on my rewatch.
Yeah.
This past time that I did it, it was great. It was really cool. I agree with that.
They did that because I don't know, but it sounds cool, and that's sometimes all Star Wars is just there because it's cool.
Absolutely,
and I like that. So I did wish we saw more of him, but I like I like the Grand Inquisitor. He was good.
DJ, what do you think about old Grandy?
Man, I still have mixed feelings about the Grand Inquisitor, and it's for the reasons everybody has complained about. I'll be real honest with you, or I say everybody, but you hear the complaints, and so I definitely don't like the way his head looks. Like I wish he looked a little bit more like the animated Grand Inquisitor because the animated one, he's this real slim figure, and I understand that, it's hard to find. You're gonna go find Gabe from The Office and throw him in as it's just not going to work, So you get a guy who, like Rupert Friend, who will physically take on a role. But I think what he did as far as his voice goes and the performance that he gave, there was elements of it that I really liked where it was a lot of fun. And especially in that second episode on Dayu, where it was just like very evident that he was the guy to watch out for in that episode. And I know Reva was doing parkour and stuff, which is great, but like he was like the guy, like, okay, don't mess with him. And so obviously when everything gets disrupted and he gets stabbed and everybody went nuts, as you guys just mentioned, I have two younger brothers and they're like, well, hold on. Like immediately I got texts like that morning and they're like, how, why, what's going on? And even then one of my brothers didn't even realize when the time period was for Obi-Wan. So I was like, listen, it's before all of that. Like it's just before any of that takes place. So with that being the case, there was all those people freaking out. I wish they didn't freak out as much and just kind of like, guys, it's 6 episodes, it's 6 episodes. Like, and really, I think it's just people finding a platform to get upset just because they need to be upset about something, I guess. I think is what a lot of people are doing sometimes. But those things went away very quickly, I feel like.
Yeah.
And once it was all said and done and he showed back up, it just added so much to his story. So as a whole, I think, and you said, PALPAMEMES, you said him just kind of being overlooking Reva there at the end and just kind of like, oh, hey buddy, I'm over here. It was funny because it was like, God, you couldn't look more like a sidekick right now. Like it, and that I liked, but I wish he had been in the final episode. I kind of still wish that one of my predictions had come true, that he had fought Reva and he had killed Reva. Not because I disliked Reva, I just thought that would have been poetic. And now that probably won't happen, I say that, watch them randomly pull them out for, I don't know, Ahsoka or something. I don't know, or Andor would be more likely probably. But I mean, if that happens, cool. If not, whatever at the end of the day. But all that to say, overall, Grandy, that's about it. It's like, I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I guess I'm in a sweet spot.
All right. Well, at the end of the day, I agree with PALPAMEMES. Part 1, questionable look, but man, for the lighting or something on Dayu made the eyes, just the look of his character way better. So definitely progressed to the point where I was committed to Rupert being that character. Wish I could have seen more. A couple of things that I wanted to point out from the chat before we go to the next thing. Blue Milk Mama said, I thought Rupert Friend would be in the series more, but I enjoyed the portrayal. Great voice. Makes me want to go and rewatch Homeland. Good actor. Yeah, he was phenomenal. And yes, the voice, and the new do it for me is Reva. The thing he did in part 2. Love that. I'm going to be trying to get that impersonation down over time for sure.
The Rupert Friend Grandy impersonation.
There you go.
Such a niche.
Other things that I wanted to point out in part 1, just real quickly with this one, thought it was really interesting going back now knowing what we know. Reva saying the following quote to Uncle Owen. You protect your family. I like that, Owen. It's important. You think you could protect them from me? Major foreshadowing. And I didn't realize that, the first time we were seeing part 1 that that was the end game, I guess, that she was going to attack their family. And at the end of the day, they weren't able to protect her from Luke. She just ended up making the better decision. So I just real quickly wanted to point that out. But next, this quote, I am going to pass this to you guys to discuss. She says to the fifth brother, maybe you don't go far enough. Again, in this kind of reflection mindset, I was trying to think, could this potentially have been the first hint of Reva actually wanting to go after Vader as her kind of end game? Thoughts on that? Is that me just kind of overstretching? But again, kind of this reflection mindset, I wanted to try to piece those puzzles together. Any thoughts on that quote connecting to that arc?
I think it's part of it. I think it definitely could be part of it, because we know that it's just a battle for power with the Sith and with dark side users and everything. I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of split on that.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know either. I think that you may be onto something, like it's supposed to be a hint towards what's to come. I could see that very easily. Just the fact that she's like, you're not going far enough, I think speaks more to what her purpose is in trying to find her revenge on the Sith.
Now I think about it, is she responding to them trying to find Obi-Wan, or is she responding to the the fifth brother telling her that, basically accusing her of what she's doing, which is trying to find Kenobi? Which one is he responding to? Because that changes it for me.
I think it was fifth brother was basically confronting her about doing too much to try to get to Kenobi, I think.
Okay. Because I was thinking maybe if he's just saying, she's going too far and all that, and just her being in her place as an inquisitor. And maybe that's, if that was the response, and her saying, you're not going far enough, in terms of his thinking of what she's trying to do with Kenobi, if that makes sense.
Okay, fair enough. I just wanted to throw that out there, because again, now that we know what we know, I'm always viewing that as I hear her say things. So just wanted to see if there were additional thoughts on that one. All right. Ultimately, part 1 is setting the stage for Obi-Wan to commit to another fight, and that fight worthy of leaving Luke on Tatooine is saving his twin Leia. What were our overall impressions of seeing the daily life of Obi-Wan first? Because I think at the end of the day, that's what part 1 was about, was showing you kind of the mental state of Obi-Wan, and then also the incorporation of Leia into the story. So what are our overall impressions of just that mental mindset that Obi-Wan had to get over, and then number 2, the incorporation of Leia Organa into this series? PALPAMEMES.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of a weird poetic thing. The way they kept cutting it and editing in, you've got this harsh, rough planet and this rough life. He's just chopping meat up for not even making a living, it seems like. And then you cut to Alderaan, which is just this beautiful palace of a place. And Leia is there, and she's raised with everything you could ever imagine, that kind of thing. So one thing I liked is just the way they incorporated that in, comparing the two livelihoods, Yet both people, well, I should say Leia's parents, which ties down to Leia and her life. Both parties, I should say, came from the same place, essentially. Yet, when the Empire took over, one person went this way to a harsh, rough life. The other people went and made something for themselves. So that's the part that stood out to me the most.
Absolutely. All right, DJ, what do you think about the incorporation of Leia?
I did not dive as deep as PALPAMEMES did into that thinking at all. However, I agree with what you're saying, that having that stark contrast of the two places is actually really cool to think about. As far as Leia being incorporated, I knew we would see Leia because the cast list was out there a while back, and the rumor at least. And there were moments where I was like, man, this is the little girl from Bird Box. I couldn't believe that was the little girl from Bird Box. I believe it is. So that's what the original rumor was, like a year and a half ago. So I was just so thrown by that. And if you go, I actually follow her on Instagram, which is fun because her parents are running the Instagram account. So they'll post like, here's what she did today. It's like, oh, that's cool. I do that with my kid, and she's 5 months old. So, it's one of those things. But man, including Leia was not something I thought that would last all 6 episodes. I'm just gonna be real honest. Once she showed up and she was there and she was in the thick of it, now when I get to go back and rewatch it, it's gonna, and I haven't gotten to rewatch the whole series yet. I've just been so busy, just coming from out of town and everything. So I didn't have the chance, but when I do get to sit down and finally rewatch it, I think I will appreciate Leia's inclusion so much more than I do currently. And I do appreciate her being there now. I love that she's there. I cried when little Leia showed up. I mean, I physically shed tears. I just couldn't believe. I was like, I can't believe little Leia's here. And I thought it was going to be more with Luke, you know? So I was preparing myself for Luke. I wasn't even ready for Leia. And then also there's the fact that she names her son Ben, and then her lightsaber kind of looks like Obi-Wan. So it's like, there's so much happening that lends itself to the rest of the lore post Return of the Jedi that is just like, oh, thank you, Deborah Chow, Lucasfilm, Tony Gilroy, all you folks, Ewan, you did it. And I love that she's there.
Yeah, for sure. 2 things I wanted to add just real quickly. Number 1, in hindsight now, it just seems so obvious that Leia would be incorporated. I don't know why we didn't try to piece that together. Because, like, what else would get Obi-Wan off of the planet of Tatooine? Yep. It would have to be Leia. So I wanted to point that out. Number 2... What was I trying to say with number 2? I completely lost it.
Oh, no.
I hate when that happens, man. I hate when that happens. Oh,
it happens to me like every 5 minutes.
It'll come up. It'll probably come up. But it was really cool to... I remember what it is now. Number 2, I can confirm, for me at least, my opinion, A New Hope, way stronger now. Like, it didn't break canon. It didn't do any of those things that people were worried about. Because I just watched that today. I wanted to make sure that I watched it immediately after my rewatch of the series, so I was ready for this stream. It's incredible. Like,
no doubt.
I was shocked with how well it flowed. Admittedly, I was concerned, but at the end of the day, it's chef's kiss. Perfection.
I think the scene that, like, really... It's crazy how much this show added to the original trilogy, but also a lot of the sequels. You already mentioned her naming her son Ben, which for a while was like, why did they do that? But we got to remember, this story has been in the works since... We've known about it since early 2016. That means it's been in the works since, like, the buyout of Lucasfilm, I would say, like, roughly. So
absolutely it has,
that they did that. But I think, like, the scene for, like, A New Hope, which I haven't rewatched it since the series, but I've seen this posted a lot, is the scene whenever Obi-Wan's fighting Vader and everything, and then things are slowed down, and the twins, Luke and Leia, show up and look at Kenobi, and Kenobi just looks at them and just has this smile on his face. There's so much more depth and emotional weight backed behind that now because of this show, and I'm so grateful for it. He sees that. He knows his mission has been completed. He says, he's ready to move on now.
You know,
do something else.
And something else, too, and once y'all go back and watch A New Hope, see if y'all kind of pick this up as well. But when they're in Kenobi's little homestead and the message of Leia first pops up, it immediately cuts to Obi-Wan and his facial expression. Like, I now see this as, oh man, he's thinking about their little mission, this side quest that just happened in the series. And it matches perfectly. Like, you can tell as soon as he sees that, he knows who that girl is. It's just incredible. Top tier stuff right there. Can't wait to continue to pull the connections and things like that between this show and A New Hope. And like y'all alluded to, even post A New Hope into the sequel trilogy. Absolutely awesome stuff. All right, we're now ready for part 2. Part 2. The first thing that I want to discuss regarding part 2 is we get this quote from the Grand Inquisitor, and it's alluded to in part 5 later into the show, that says, "You came to us from the gutter." I still don't know what that means. Am I missing something? Like,
she was literally gutted with a lightsaber.
Okay, sure, fair. That you're correct in that. But
maybe they look at the Jedi Temple as a gutter in that way.
You know what? That's a good call.
That is a good call.
That's how I picked up on it. They think of her as a lesser being because of the Jedi Temple.
I can see that. A headcanon accepted.
Yeah,
that's how I see it. I don't know.
I take it. I take that. But that is one thing that has been a burning question of mine now that I've rewatched it, is we get this quote of, "We found you in a gutter" twice, and I don't know what that gutter is, but hey.
They found in a gutter. Well,
I think we're digging too deep into that. I think it's just that she's worthless. She's basically been in a ditch, and that's it. You know, I mean, she's been gutted. I mean, metaphorically, it's all metaphor.
Yeah.
The whole thing's one big metaphor. It's what it.
Fair. All right. Just wanted to real quickly throw that out there because that is one thing that I've noticed. All right, number 2, as far as part 2. Although there was no appearance of Padme, I feel like one of the things that was great about this series is the fact that you could kind of feel her presence, though.
Yes.
And it started here in part 2 with this quote, "You just remind me of someone. She was fearless too and stubborn. She was a leader." So the numerous allurements to Padme that we got were here in part 2, in part 3 on Freck's little transport, and then part 6 with obviously that emotional goodbye that we'll talk about later once we get to part 6 for sure. But how did we feel about that? The incorporation of Padme into this story, even though they didn't have Natalie Portman physically there, I still felt like she was there just in spirit. What did you think? What do you think about that, PALPAMEMES?
Yeah, it shows the impact that Padme has, on the overall story. I think a lot of people miss out on that. She's a very important character and stuff in the prequels. But I did like some people are gonna get mad at me. I'm glad Natalie Portman wasn't in there because I think it depends on how they do it. Maybe like a quick PTSD moment with Anakin in the back, or sorry, Vader in the back to tank. I would be okay with that actually. I changed my mind on that. I guess I'm just thinking about the Kenobi scenes. But I just like that. Just a few words, you feel the impact that she had on the Star Wars saga, we'll say.
Absolutely. All right, DJ, how did you feel about the Padme incorporation?
I mean,
based off of quotes.
I mean, first of all, she's the queen, okay, and rightfully so. And I mean, growing up watching Phantom Menace, it's like, you're the queen, Your Highness. I respect you. But Natalie Portman, I understand why she probably couldn't be a part of the series. I mean, Thor is right around the corner, and she's probably busy doing Thor while this is also going on. So I had hopes that maybe the schedule would work out. The fact that she wasn't present, though, actually lent itself to more, I'm going to use a very big word, emotional gravitas. Because it just gave so much feeling with Obi-Wan. You could see that on his face, and Ewan did a good job of that. And then I forget the name of the actress who plays Leia in this series, but she was so great at just being like dumbfounded at the idea of this fearless, wonderful, stubborn leader that is her mom, because she doesn't know she is. So she played, for lack of a better term, she played dumb very well, in that she has no idea she is. So, but yes, Padme's felt, and I still wish that she was there. I certainly felt like she was there in spirit, but it'd have been great for like a PTSD type flashback, or even just a full scene would have been great too. I would have liked to seen something like that too, but sure. I'm not like dying for it at this point. The only thing I truly would have been mad about is if Qui-Gon hadn't shown up.
Fair.
And the fact that he did for like even a microsecond is great.
Yeah.
So as far as Padme goes, I'm good without.
Yeah, no, I loved I mean, even though she was only, I think, mentioned or allured to like 3 times, I felt like her presence was felt all 6 parts.
The whole time.
It was great. The way that they incorporated that into it was phenomenal. Cloney Boy has an interesting point here in the chat. I think a bit of dialogue from Padme would have worked well for Vader. You don't have to see her, just hear her, and that could be the furthest you get with her involvement. I love that idea, and I know one of the things that I shared prior to the show is, with that scene of Vader getting assembled, I felt like we could have gotten some flashback moments there of him thinking about Padme and him putting away his old Anakin self and officially becoming Vader in those moments. I felt like that would have been pretty poetic, and that could have been another way to incorporate Padme for sure. But yeah, I'm still very happy with what we got there as far as Padme Amidala. All right, next up, Reva. Reva reveals that Anakin is still alive to Obi-Wan, which has led to way too much debate online, even now knowing the Part 5 explanation, which I'm kind of thrown off by. Like, people are thrown off that she somehow knows that information and is still alive, even though we get that visual representation in Part 5. So I just, real quick, PALPAMEMES, what are your thoughts on this? Is it okay for Reva to know this information? Just expand on that.
Yeah, it's not an issue at all.
Good to hear.
She was a youngling. She saw Vader when the temple got massacred. And that's what I've been saying. Like, it's funny because people kept complaining about it and stuff. I'm like, guys, you realize this show's not over, right? And they're like, yeah, but they're not going to reveal that because it's like a bunch of plot holes. They don't care. I'm like, because I knew all the leaks and stuff, so I wasn't gonna say anything. But I was like, okay, let us show.
Oh, you're a leak guy. You know the leaks.
Yeah.
I can't do leaks, man. It kills me.
I know. I applaud that actually. But I just have a good time getting into leaks and because I'm friends with some people who are like on set and stuff. So it's just fun. It's just fun experience and stuff. Now, if it's like a movie, I want to stay away from movie leaks. But show leaks, yeah, I'll go into them. But yeah, I was like, it wasn't a problem at all for me.
Okay, good. And DJ, I think you're good with it not being a problem at all as well.
No, I have no issues.
All right.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make we got a new guest on here and he did
Actually, no, I'm good. I'm good.
Right.
Honestly, yeah, it all makes sense. Of course, she's a youngling in the temple, and that's why she knows.
Yeah.
Duh. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world.
Absolutely. All right. Here at the end of part 2 is when we get our first look at Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader. So I just wanted for us think back at this and just share what our initial impressions were and how this moment made us feel.
Man, yeah, as someone who grew up on the prequels and grew up with Hayden and Ewan, I was already getting all the Ewan I could get, and I was loving it. And then they hit you with that at the end. I mean,
yeah,
it's just I love Hayden Christensen. I hate the way he was treated and stuff. And so just seeing him back in that form for the first time, I'm just like, man, it was awesome.
Yeah, Hayden popping up was just class. I mean, I'm just glad that they were able to pull that off. And at this point, like, I was craving way more Hayden for sure, but definitely the finale made up for it, to say the least. DJ, what did you think of this moment?
Only problem I have with this, everything about it's great. It all looks great. It sounds great. Well, sort of. The only issue I have is that they did not use the Imperial March. That's it. Only problem.
I remember that being one of our criticisms throughout the show, is that we just felt like they could have used some prequel, original trilogy themes here and there that I feel like would have allowed the scenes that we were seeing to hit more emotionally for us.
Because this isn't Mandalorian. Mm-hmm. Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, let Ludwig do his thing. Because that makes sense for that universe. I mean, now it does. If you're going to have Ewan, sorry, quick soapbox. If you're going to have Ewan, you're going to have Hayden, freaking Anakin versus Obi-Wan, Duel of Fates, the weird lady singing in the Jedi Temple. Shout out John Hare. Okay. So you get all of these weird little things like that would be perfect. And they don't do it until the last episode. I get that last week I had Caleb read a quote from me that said it needed to be earned. It did need to be earned for what they had. But retrospect, hindsight, put the freaking Imperial March in this scene. It makes it a billion times better. And I would have had more goosebumps, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Like I would have been like, okay, flipping tables. Let's get this thing. I'd have been all over the place, but
fair.
That didn't happen. So it's my only problem with it. Everything else, great.
Fair. I can see that criticism for sure. I had goosebumps all over except maybe my feet. If they had the Imperial March, they would have made it to my feet. There's a nice visual for everybody.
It's such a weird, like, it's like you tickle yourself with goosebumps. That's weird.
Man. Anyway, man, we're getting blown up by all this spam in the chat tonight.
Oh, what happens?
RFB is just crushing it as far as modding that, so appreciate that, RFB. But let's see. I want to visit the chat before we move on to part 3 just real quick, because I did see some things, I think. Yes, Luis Berry. That's a new name that I haven't seen, so what's up, Luis? Glad that you're here. Says, not Mando, but better than Boba Fett. Okay, so I think Luis is saying Kenobi is not as good as Mando, but it is better than Boba Fett. That's an interesting thing that we could definitely get into, and if we have time maybe toward the end of the stream, we might try to rank the 3 live-action Star Wars series that we've gotten so far. Okay, Cloney Boy. Oh, let me backtrack, actually. Orar D, new name there, says, they said Lucas is writing season 2. Yeah, I don't think that's happening.
Lucas
don't think that's
is not
happening.
Coming back to write anything in Star Wars. He doesn't want to.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
I wish you would.
Sure. Yeah, but look, guys, man sold the franchise for a reason.
Yeah.
We are the reason.
We are the reason. Okay, he ain't coming back. We don't deserve him.
We don't.
Oh, man. All right, Cloney Boy. Natalie Holt gave an explanation for the themes. She didn't want to use them until the characters fully filled their arcs. Force theme for Obi-Wan, Leia's theme, Imperial March, so on. Yeah, and I 100% see that for sure, and I get that a creative decision, I just don't know if I feel like I still would have enjoyed more original stuff here and
I'm going to be honest with you. That quote makes me angry. I hate that. I don't like that at all.
Man.
That's a bad call.
Yeah.
Because I listened to the soundtrack about half of it today, and I was like, gosh, this sounds way too much like Loki. Like I could not escape with it, and it really bugged me.
I could see
that. I will forever, wow, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I will forever dislike everything about this musical soundtrack except for the Obi-Wan theme itself, because that's John Williams.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. I don't usually get heated, but I am right now. Sorry.
All right, we are now ready and on to part 3. Part 3 is where, for me, it really started to crank up the intensity. And one of the things that I just thought of as I was rewatching is the quote where Obi-Wan is remembering a baby brother. Are we going to get any expansion on this? I mean, I would love to see a story, at least read it. In a comic book, novel, doesn't matter. But is this something that they're toying with behind the scenes, that secretly Obi-Wan has this brother that we've never heard about? PALPAMEMES, what do you think?
I like it to be a mystery that's not.
Okay.
Because it's like the whole idea of the Jedi, you're taken from your family. I think they definitely put that point in just to show how powerful it was, He was ripped away from his family. He may have had a brother that he would never know. So I think that's why they put it in. It's not something I hope they don't expand upon it, because I do feel like Star Wars has a problem sometimes of giving answers and explanations to things that don't need answers or explanations to. It's better left untold, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. That's just kind of my view on it.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably approaching it correctly. Is that line was just thrown in there to, first of all, allow him to relate to Leia. But second of all, just to portray the idea that Jedi have some struggles too early on. They're separated from their family. He was separated from a potential baby brother. DJ, what did you think? Or what do you think? Should we get an expansion on this?
You definitely don't need an expansion.
Okay.
I understand why it's there. It's not really needed.
Yeah.
Like, Anakin's his brother at the end of the day.
That's deep.
So, like, why even bring it up, I guess? Like, it's a nice thing to think about, it's kind of cool. Okay, yeah, he might have had a brother. In Clone Wars, we got to see where Ahsoka's people come from. So, like, and Darth Maul's people, we got to see his village. I get it. I understand. Some people may want that. I'm not those people. So for me, it's one of those. I get why it's there. I really don't want it there. I just like Kenobi being this guy who, wow, I am becoming the guys on Twitter I don't like. I really just don't like the idea of them adding something like that to it, because I really want Obi-Wan to just be not a lone wolf, but a lone wolf. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't need to stay mysterious like Yoda does, but I would prefer to not know anything about his backstory before becoming a Jedi.
That's fair.
But it's okay that it's there. It's not like it's going to kill the story for me. And it never probably will, because this is still one of the best Star Wars stories ever told. Yeah. On par with Empire Strikes Back and Revenge of the Sith. But I don't think it needs to be expanded at all. Okay. I think just leave it as it is.
All right, fair. 2 things in the chat that kind of connect to this conversation. Cloney Boy says, I like to think the brother he mentions is how he feels about Anakin. Anakin was taken from him by Sidious. It doesn't work fully, but it's a nice headcanon. Yeah, I like that. Like that idea. Blue Milk Mama, John Kenobi. LOL. Actually, I hope not, and I don't think they will. It was really interesting to hear him talk about a family, though. And at the end of the day, I think that's just kind of the approach. Just kind of having that mention, show, again, just more battles, struggles, internal things that Kenobi's having to deal with now at this point in his life, just adding to that story a little bit. I think at the end of the day, that's really what it was all about. All right, next up, part 3 introduces us to Tala. For me, this is my opinion, Tala was the best new character. Maybe because of my love for Game of Thrones and her character in Game of Thrones, that might have something to do with it. But I absolutely loved her. PALPAMEMES, what did you think of Tala?
I might agree with you, actually. In terms of new characters, she was really good. She had a good setup and a really good conclusion that I didn't see coming.
Yeah, that death really hurt.
It killed me.
It was necessary.
Yeah,
it was.
Someone had to do it.
Yeah, and at the end of the day for this show, that was the emotional moment. Like the emotional loss. That happens in like most every series, that you have someone that unfortunately hits the can, and it was Tala, and it
the bucket.
It worked perfectly. DJ, what did you think of Tala?
I love Tala. I love this character so much. And God, it's just like you look at her and you look at what Leia ended up looking up to her so much, which means, and of course at the end of it, she gets her holster, which is like, is that the same holster from like all, like I'm thinking specifically Return of the Jedi, and I'm going to say it is until someone else says otherwise. But it's so incredible that to think she has a mom, Brea's her mom, and she's raised her, but it's like, I think it's Tala becomes a role model of sorts for Leia, and in a weird way for all of us, because like we needed a truly amazing and strong female hero here. Not to say that we don't have that already in Rey and Leia and Rose and Jannah, from looking at sequel trilogy, or Padme even, but somebody in this series, to really like represent who Leia could become is Tala dead out, and no pun intended. So Tala is just the best. I loved her character so much. I wish that we could see more of her. I hope that Lucasfilm like drafts Charles Scholl to like go do a comic series on the path, and it have nothing to do with the High Republic, of course, but it be about what she does with the help of Ned B, who I still think is Ned Bigby from Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. But, I still want to see some more of her and Ned B doing their thing. So love Tala. Absolutely love Tala.
Yeah, she is something that I want to see expanded upon in a novel or comic somewhere. And especially
the Tala novel.
Well, yeah, sure, that's fine. But also in connection to that idea of the path, which is actually my next reflection kind of talking point here, is the fact that the path is probably one of the most impactful kind of things that this show introduced as far as in the galaxy, Star Wars franchise as a whole. So just open-ended question here for discussion is, what are some things that this idea of the path opens the door to, and what did you, PALPAMEMES, think of this addition to canon?
I don't mind it. I like the thing with Quinlan Vos. That was cool. I don't like the idea of so much. It feels like the more they leave Jedi alive after Order 66, the less impactful and important Luke Skywalker is. And that's kind of, I know that might be kind of a
I think you're biased.
Thing. Yeah, maybe. And maybe it's a little pretentious to say, and I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I mean, there's going to be people who survive, but the more they keep saying, I'm like, it would be interesting to see them find the path and where it leads and stuff, and then basically end it, That would be an interesting closure, kind of keep it early on. But I think it's a cool idea. I just they keep bringing in more Jedi, and it's ironic because Cal Kestis is one of my favorite characters. I mean, the dude's awesome, and so I don't know. I'm just kind of mixed on it.
Yeah, well, it sounds like maybe. Well, I think it's just across the board. We need more explanation for the path than what we got in Kenobi, and I think that might make more sense for that idea and make us potentially even feel better. DJ, what do you think about the path?
I get where you're at, PALPAMEMES, on the idea of like it kind of lessens Luke. I do get that. However, Luke is still the greatest Jedi ever. Like, it's like you're ranking him, he's top 10 easily. And that's me being a little generous to some other Jedi. Sure. But I still think that the idea of the path existing is really cool for the overall lore, especially when you think about when they get to their cave hideout where there's like 15 lightsabers just hanging out. General Grievous is rolling over in his grave. It's just like, you look down at that and you think they gave it up. I mean, they gave it up, and they're just existing, now seemingly among us. It's one of those crazy concepts. So while it does say, there's a lot of Jedi that come through there, it also says, but you know what? They gave up. And which makes Luke's story that much better because he comes out of nothing, but on top of that, though, the thing I really like with the path is this guy up here. I am now convinced that Grogu made his way through the path with the help of Tala. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to happen now in a comic. I think there's a Mandalorian comic finally getting printed sometime this year or next. And I don't even know what the comic is. I just know I'm going to go pick it up because I have to have it because it's a Mandalorian comic. But if they ever do a comic or novel with Tala in the path, I 100% expect Grogu to be thrown in there. And how that'd be something insane to figure out how he gets from point A to point B. Point A being Order 66, point B being Mandalorian Episode 1. It'd be great to see that, but I'm now convinced that that's what happened. So I love the path for what it could mean for Mandalorian.
Interesting.
Because it is that's the thing we have to remember is that this is one long linear story. It's not like Marvel where you have Captain America technically starts it all. And then by the time you get to 2022, you've got this happening and this happening and this happening, and it branches off. That's not Star Wars. It's linear. And that's why it's so fun. I think so. I want this to lend itself to something with Mandalorian because that's where Star Wars is right now. Yeah, is the Mandalorian. So,
well, I mean, if there is anything from this series that could connect, it would probably be that path idea. So we'll see. We'll see if it connects to Grogu in some form or another along the way. All right, last question for part 3. Darth Vader and Obi-Wan have their appetizer of a duel. Just thoughts on that one? Because for me, I loved it. But it did feel like they were, and now in hindsight, I see why. They were definitely saving some moments for the finale. They were saving also like the production level of it, in my opinion, too. Like it was just kind of like an open scene, just kind of not much to it. But I like the emotional stakes that it set up eventually toward the end of the show. But PALPAMEMES, what did you think of this appetizer between the two?
I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there was some cool parts about it. The budget really showed, and that's probably one of my biggest issues with the show is the budget was just so bad. I've heard 90 to 100 million, which is criminally low for a show like this, and it shows. Yeah, and that's
I haven't heard that number, but that's disappointing.
I mean, some people report 150 million, but there's no way the show's 150 million.
Isn't it like Lord of the Rings is doing like 500 mil?
Something like that. It's probably. I think they said it's.
I know that the Ezra Miller Flash movie was 200.
Yeah, movies typically are around 200
movies are
250.
Yeah, but just as a comparison, this got less than a DC character who the actor's been arrested like 5 times last week. I'm gonna throw Ezra Miller under the bus real quick.
Fair enough. But I thought the duel was I don't see myself going back and rewatching it because it didn't really give me anything to want to go back and rewatch it. I think is I like the part where he throws him in the fire. That was definitely a nice poetic thing. Like, he wants to see Kenobi suffer. That part was important and I like that, but that's probably it.
Okay, fair. DJ, what about you?
I'll say I love this fight. It's not a fight. I love this confrontation because it's Vader, his first time at bat. I look at it like baseball, where you're a batter and you get struck out by your opposing pitcher in the first inning, and you're like, well, I'm not letting that happen again. And you get up in the 3rd or 4th, whenever your next time at bat is, and you just go out swinging. And Vader hits a freaking grand slam. I mean, that's what happens in this 3rd episode because he gets that revenge he's wanted so badly.
Yeah.
Now, it is interrupted, and I understand that, but it shows so much of what Obi-Wan is still having to deal with. It shows Obi-Wan, that is not Anakin. This is Darth Vader. And he needed that as a progression to get to part 6.
Yeah.
So in the grand scheme of the story, how it relates to A New Hope, you're more machine now than man. Listen, that doesn't really get a whole lot better than the way they did it.
Yeah.
Plus, Obi-Wan was not ready to fight. It's the first time he's ignited a lightsaber in probably a decade. Sure. And it's great. That's poetic in and of itself that he lit a lightsaber to end his time as I guess not light it, but you guys know what I mean. He fights Anakin, shuts it off, and 10 years later turns it on to fight who? Anakin. It's very poetic in that. So that scene for me carries so much emotional weight to the story. So I like it.
Mm-hmm.
It is a lackluster fight. It's supposed to be. I think it's written to be lackluster. So I love the way they toyed with it a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt. I think my biggest issue is just the bad production of it.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that.
That really took it down for me.
Yeah,
I thought the third episode was fairly weak overall. I still thought it was decent, but just kind of like on the weaker end, I guess. But yeah, the fight for me I like the emotional weight that's carried by it, but I feel like they could have done a better job.
Man.
Well, I think at the end of the day, this little appetizer was just simply giving Vader a win. Right. Evening the playing field, because obviously Kenobi won the first match. Vader wins this one, and then that way the finale, you get your tiebreaker. I think really at the end of the day, that's what it was for. But yeah, I 100% agree with you as far as the production value of it. It kind of showed. It showed that they prioritized things throughout the series rather than just each and every single moment. But at the end of the day, the finale that they spend all the money on, we'll get to that eventually. So
is off.
We'll share it once we get there. Okay, part 4. We'll speed up part 4 a little bit because really, for me, part 4 was my least favorite. So after I kind of pose this little question, if y'all want to expand on it a little bit more, feel free. But this one was really like the big thing for me overall for the show, was just kind of exploring the fortress. Obviously, we got to do that in Fallen Order, but it was great to actually see it in live action television. So just a quick multiple choice question, I guess, for both of you. Which of the following were your favorite moments during Obi-Wan and Tala's mission? A, Obi-Wan using the Force similarly to the way he used it in A New Hope to distract stormtroopers. B, Obi-Wan finding the Jedi tomb. C, Obi-Wan's ninja skills in the dark with his lightsaber to save Leia. Or D, Obi-Wan's Force hold on the cracking window of the fortress. Which of those were your favorite moment from this episode?
Ooh, it's a hard choice between C and D, I'll be honest.
I'm the same.
Ooh, man, I don't know. I think C.
Okay.
I'll go with C.
The ninja skills.
I'm a sucker for a little. Yeah, I'm a sucker for
I love that too. I think that would be my answer too. DJ, what about you?
I'm going to be different and just say it's B.
The Jedi tomb?
I really, truly, the Jedi tomb, I get scared real easily. I hate horror movies. I don't like scary movies. I don't watch them. People are like, watch Friday the 13th. I've never seen it because I don't want to be scared. So I skip it. And for me, having a bit of horror in the middle of this, I was like, holy crap. Like it was a lot for me. It really was. And it tugged on the strings quite a bit. I don't felt some people are like saying things like the youngling encased in it removed them from it. It was like, okay, why is his hat still on? It was like where some people were saying. I was like,
they're proud of it, the Inquisitors. That's how I took it.
Say that again.
It's a trophy, right?
That's how I mean.
It's a trophy.
That's exactly how I see it. I'm like, wow, that is scary. Like that is truly terrifying. So like watching him do Jedi ninja stuff, fan-freaking-tastic. I love it. But the tomb, I haven't stopped thinking about that tomb. I'm just going to be real honest.
Story-wise, it's the best part of Episode 4. Just that story aspect.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
That would probably be the most, I guess, franchise implication kind of moment of that episode for sure.
I guess that's where my mind is a lot, is how it affects the franchise.
Yeah.
And that definitely
absolutely.
does.
Yeah. Great mindset to be in this little reflection, All right. On to part 5 then. We're now ready for the 2 final episodes and kind of back to that production value. I felt like bumped it up real quick. Part 5 and part 6, you could feel that they really prioritized these 2 episodes, and rightfully so. So the first thing, obviously, that jumps off the screen is the incorporation of the Anakin Obi-Wan flashback to reflect the current timeline storytelling, which is still top tier Star Wars for me. Just the reflection, I guess, of this training flashback still reflects the way that Obi-Wan and Vader are acting currently is just awesome. PALPAMEMES, what did you think of this incorporation of the flashback? Was it enough flashback of Anakin Skywalker for you, or did you feel like there was more that you could have got from that?
Yeah, I freaking love that.
Let's go.
Flashbacks. I actually today watched on YouTube, someone like clipped them all together and stuff, and it was just, it's so exciting. And seeing Anakin's episode 2 hill and then Obi-Wan's episode 1 and 2 hill, I mean, it's just phenomenal stuff.
The details were...
The details, you know, and they recently released a picture of the room, the set that was built for that. They built the real set with the volume, and I'm like, oh man, if I had money, I would like build a room and then build the volume technology, I guess, into that room and like make a little Coruscant room. But one thing I really love about it that I haven't seen too many pick up on is the way they fight is incorporated, or the way they train is incorporated in the fight at the end of episode 6, where it's kind of similar to how Anakin takes Obi-Wan's lightsaber away. He's like, you're beat, your saber, your weapon is gone. And, you know, Obi-Wan's does what he does. And then in episode 6, Vader just throws rocks and just rocks on him, walks away with confidence, like, you're beaten, you can't, you know. And it's the same thing. Obi-Wan once again got the best of him. But I thought the training, the choreography was just so fun. Just classic prequel fights. Still the learner. Yep. Still the learner.
And again, that plays really well when you watch A New Hope again. Yep. It plays really well. DJ, what did you think of the flashback? Because again, we're now to the moment where I haven't talked about this stuff with you, at least on the podcast.
I about pooped my pants. I'm just gonna be real honest. Like, I every week, every time the episode would come out, I would jump in spoiler threads like on Facebook and Twitter and try to come up with like the weirdest way to say I enjoyed it. And for me, honestly, I think that particular week, I said, I think I sweat through exactly 17 cotton t-shirts. Like I couldn't like get through it without just being like, like the whole time. So I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I love it as it is. But I also watched a de-aging video today with Hayden Christensen having been de-aged. And holy mess. When you watch that in the de-age, it's on YouTube somewhere. If you just look up de-age Hayden and Obi-Wan, you can find, you guys have probably seen it. It's immaculate. You know, whoever did it, I don't know if it's the same guy that did the de-aging fix, quote unquote, for Luke in Mando 2, but man, it's incredible. So, but even that aside, I want to grow a Padawan braid now. I haven't wanted a Padawan braid in 15 years. Now I want one. I'm not going to grow one, but I want one. Just everything about Hayden in that particular outfit, just rocked my prequel loving world, because I just couldn't believe. And of course, you mentioned the hilts, PALPAMEMES. I mean, you said
such a small detail, but it's like, oh man,
they know Star Wars fans are going to look for that stuff. Plus, Ewan loves that lightsaber hilt. He picked it. He hand-picked it.
Yep.
So he's like, this one's mine. And I can see him as an executive producer on the series just being like, hey, real quick, this lightsaber has to be in the show somehow.
Yeah.
I could very easily see that being the case. If he didn't say it, whatever. But man, this whole scene just, I want to rewatch Attack of the Clones now because of it. I bet thousands of people have.
Crazy because it's crazy what the show does. You know, makes you want to really watch these films.
After he showed up on Mapuzo, you know, in the premonition of him with the hood up, you know, I thought that is Mapuzo, isn't it? Yeah, the little desert planet. That's Mapuzo.
Yes.
I'm having a hard time remembering the planets in this one, but I was like, I got to watch Revenge of the Sith now, was what I thought when I saw that. But then you fast forward to this, you're like, Attack of the Clones is the best movie ever. Like you just, you just can't help but geek out a little bit. And that's how I've been ever since. And
for sure,
God, it's just good stuff.
Well, I think the flashbacks still work great in a week after seeing it.
They'll always work.
2 weeks, I guess, after seeing it. Great stuff. The flashbacks were incredible. Okay, I guess this might be the biggest reflection question yet. In part 5, we start to see Obi-Wan's character development begin to really shine due to his willingness to help the civilians. So essentially, did the arc of building the character back up again that this series set out to do end up working for you, PALPAMEMES?
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay.
At the very beginning, he's I can't help you. And it's not that he doesn't want to, it's that he himself feels he's just not physically or emotionally capable of doing so. Whereas jump forward a few episodes later, he's taking the sacrifices. He's being a leader again. And so it's just fulfilling, especially with the PTSD and all that he endures. You know, it comes around and it's really feel good. It's like, man, good for this guy.
Yeah, for sure. DJ, anything you want to add to that?
You know, I think that Obi-Wan's arc represents a lot of people in our world, in that we let fear drive us so much, from keeping us from doing even small things. So to watch a character like Obi-Wan Kenobi go from who he was in the Clone Wars to Revenge of the Sith to now, then to see him in A New Hope, it's so different than what I was expecting. I knew he wouldn't want to leave Tatooine, and I knew that he would have a hard time leaving Tatooine if that's where the show ended up going. So when he does it, he would just remove so much reluctancy and fear to do what he knows is the right thing. And I wish that more people in our world would take that on and allow that fear to leave and take on what is right. And when you remove that fear and take on what is true and what we know to be good, especially as the true nature of a Jedi, not the corrupted side of things that we saw from the Clone Wars, you know, not the jaded type of Jedi. I'm talking like a true Jedi. I need the little coin thing to go above me, like from Lego Star Wars. That changes so much. And I love that Obi-Wan shed all of that to publicly say, look, it's obvious. Okay. I'm a Jedi. You guys know that, but we're not saying it. Let's just put that away real quick. Let's get out of here. We've got to figure out a way out. And I love that he steps out of that fear and into that leadership role that he's always been good at. He just needed a purpose. And that purpose lends itself to what he does in A New Hope. Him leaving Tatooine in A New Hope, no problem. Why? He knows what his purpose is. So letting him be rid of that fear and finding that purpose is something that I absolutely love. And this scene brings all that together. And again, to reiterate, I wish more people in real life would do that. You know, we have a much happier world if we did stuff like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I just to bounce off that, I thought it was poetic. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Loved everything that both of you guys said there, so I won't add anything to it. Thought it was phenomenal. All right, next up for part 5, the big Reva reveal. Obviously, the night of Order 66, Reva was there. That's how she knows that Anakin is Darth Vader. It's revealed that she wants to then kill Darth Vader. She's been trying to hunt this guy ever since. So, first question that I have is what was this reveal shocking to you? Did you see this coming? And then second question I have is, did this reveal work for you? Like, did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it shocked me. But I was like, oh man, that's good.
Yeah.
Because I really never expected it. I never really saw it coming.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely was like, but then I think back, I'm like, oh wait, this all makes sense now.
Yep.
It all everything kind of comes together and stuff, you know? So I loved it.
Okay, good. DJ, how'd you feel?
I was shocked and I loved it.
Good.
I mean, I genuinely wasn't ready for that to be the case.
Yeah.
However, it makes all the sense in the world. And as we've been saying, you know, like just give the stories. That's how it was each week when we break it down. I was like, I just tell myself, remember to let the story breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying that to our listeners, but very much myself too, because I don't want to get tied up in the rigmarole that is online speculation at times. And with this one, it was so important to remember this is a new character. We don't know who she is. Let the story work itself out. And when it did, it made everything perfect. And I really think it works very, very well.
Yeah, I really thoroughly enjoyed this reveal as well. And this was the best acting scenes between at least Reva and Obi-Wan, because I don't think, well, they have another face-to-face interaction in the finale, but their little acting chops here as they were going back and forward, the emotions that you could see on both of their faces, incredible stuff. And I think I said that me and Zach Horvath was on the show when we did our spoiler discussion on that, so I kind of dove into that a lot there, but really loved that scene specifically when we finally get the Reva reveal. And yes, definitely worked for me. We've already talked on the Tala and Ned B situation. Obviously, that was emotional, so we won't spend time on that. Hashtag.
I want to cry.
Yeah, we don't want to go down that road again.
Don't make DJ cry.
But the next thing that we need to discuss regarding Part 5 is obviously the sheer power of Darth Vader that's portrayed. Yeah. Bringing a ship down, ripping the side of the ship off, then just fighting Reva with the Force, knowing all along what Reva's intentions were, but him being able to manipulate the situation where he wasn't going to be affected or killed or anything like that. Just incredible stuff. So I guess the question that comes to mind, honestly, is this Vader at his best, PALPAMEMES, these moments?
In terms of live action on screen?
Uh-huh.
It's up there for me.
Yeah.
It's up there for me. I love seeing it with 2 sabers. That was neat.
Oh, and like the kind of like Ahsoka pose there for a minute.
Yeah, I caught that. Yeah, so it was cool. The CGI work could have been better.
100 mil for the whole series. Just
it's so frustrating because it's like Disney. This is literally your biggest, like objectively viewership wise, this is your biggest Disney Plus live action original. But no, I love that scene, the reveal with Reva and stuff, and how she's hunting him, and then seeing her even just try and make an attempt to fight him, and then learning that Vader knew all along. Yeah. He's like, did you really think, And it's kind of like a cat and a mouse, Cat's just kind of playing with the mouse and just having fun with it, kind of baiting it and trying to, given the mouse, kind of trying to hint that, oh, you might have a chance of fighting me, but it's like, no, not at all.
Yeah. So good. DJ, anything you want to add?
100% he was at his best. This was on par with Boba riding the Rancor. Ooh. Honestly, like top 2 best moments across the board. Well, hold on one second. I forgot about Luke. the Boba riding the Rancor and Vader ripping the hull off of a space transport. Best 3 moments in all 3 series, hands down. I mean, I don't think anybody would fight you on that, honestly. So for me, this was incredible to watch Vader do this. His power was insane. And listen, when I think about that scene, I just think about that. I totally forget that Reva even fights Vader after that, because that's how much that scene sticks in my head. Mm-hmm. Having said that, watching Vader have 2 red lightsabers is 100% reminiscent of Ahsoka, but also it's reminiscent of Attack of the Clones, which was what a big portion of that episode was about. So it's like, give Anakin two more lightsabers to play with. And I don't think either one of them was actually his, were they? Was one of them even his?
Mm-mm.
Like
he took Reva's and broke it in half.
Yeah, so like the dude doesn't even get out his own lightsaber for like half the fight.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can do this with yours. You're trying, really? It's so close to Rogue One that it makes me want to throw up. It's so awesome. I'm just going to be real honest. It's so good.
It was pretty remarkable. I see in the chat Japheth is back saying about Japheth has the opinion that he wasn't a fan of the Kenobi series, which last week, though, he stated in the chat didn't like the finale, but then he went on to list all the things that he loved instead. So, Japheth, appreciate the energy. Even though I hate that you didn't enjoy the show, I'm still glad that you're able to find things that you loved, and hopefully you were able to love that incredible Vader stuff that we got here at the end of Part 5. And I see Zach. What up? What up, Zach?
Hey, Zach.
Glad to see you in the chat. Okay. Let's go ahead and get to the finale, because I see that we're definitely already over our usual hour mark that we try to hit. So let's go ahead and get to the finale. Let's see where I want to go here. We already kind of talked on the original trilogy themes and how they were officially incorporated into this Part 6, so we won't kind of expand on that. Obviously, we would have loved to hear it throughout the show, but it makes sense that they tried to save it and wait until the very end. Worked, yes. Definitely could have used some more of it, in our opinion, though. All right. Okay, let's just talk about it. Rematch of the century. Let's just talk about it. Let's ignore everything else. Simply ask this question here. Did the rematch of the century live up to the hype?
Yeah, it was freaking awesome. It was so cool. The only thing I wish was there's someone made an edit with the Revenge of the Sith music incorporated into it, and it makes it 20 times better. That is my literally only complaint, and I say complaint loosely because I love the music that does play. It's a nice blend of Obi-Wan's theme and some orchestration and stuff and some choir stuff going on. So I love the music that does play in it, but seeing that edit with the Revenge of the Sith stuff going, it was phenomenal.
Man,
the choreography, the story, the emotional impact and weight and stuff. I mean, it was just perfect.
Well, I mean, what did you think of the half Anakin face kind of reveal? Similar to Rebels, obviously,
so sad.
But yeah,
so sad because then you see Obi-Wan's face when Obi-Wan realizes that Anakin probably is just dead, and that Vader is all that's remained. You know, I think that Obi-Wan thought that seeing Anakin, he's like, oh my gosh, this can be it, Anakin. I can bring Anakin back. You know. But then Anakin or Vader kind of smiles when he says, you know, I killed him. That scene hit hard.
Yeah. You know? And it's like when he has like a little half smile, and it's like the mix of Hayden's voice with Vader or James Earl Jones. Like, just, gosh, it was so good. The execution of that was just great. DJ, thoughts on rematch of the century? Did it live up to the hype for you? Does it deserve that tag?
Hold on. Let me preface this with this, okay? I enjoyed it, and I loved it very much. Okay, now let me get to the part that you're not going to appreciate.
Okay.
This is not the rematch of the century.
Okay.
It's a great lightsaber fight.
Okay.
It just, I don't know, something's missing for me. I don't know. Maybe it's because I watched it at 6:30 in the morning while at church camp, you know, and I didn't have the time to like really take myself away from what I was doing all week and just say, okay, Star Wars, or there's something I just don't like about it. I don't know. Maybe it's because I've only seen it one time. Even now, I've still not gotten around to go back and rewatching it. So the fight itself is good in that it is a perfect in-between of Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. The style, I feel like there's 10 years later, this is how they would fight 10 years later. It makes sense to me. So that's good. But here's the thing. This scene isn't good because of the fight. It's good because of the conversation.
100%.
And
100%.
Like you guys said, that if you're going to say the rematch of the century, it's that conversation to me.
Yeah.
That's where the rematch takes place.
And I noticed that too, kind of like on my third or fourth. I think I'm up to 4 rewatches now at this point with the finale only.
Nice.
I look more forward to their dialogue at the end rather than the clashing of sabers, for sure.
And I think that's something that the Revenge of the Sith fight lacked, is that there was only conversation at the beginning and at the end. And a typical Star Wars fight, especially in the original trilogy, is always there's a conversation happening. And the sequel trilogy did that really well too. But there's something here. And John Hare's in the chat. I did watch the finale with John Hare. He's a buddy of mine, so it was great to watch it with somebody. But he was sitting right next to me, and him and another guy we were watching it with were like, "Whoa, but yeah," you know. And I was just kind of like soaking it in. All right. Then it's the conversation. The helmet being ripped in half is right where it needed to be, and I've seen this on Twitter. Maybe you guys have too, where Ahsoka took off one half of the helmet, Obi-Wan took off the other half, but only Luke could take off the whole helmet.
Beautiful.
And I was like, okay, whoever figured that one out, and if that was intentional, brilliant, genius work. If that was intentional, I hope it is.
Yeah.
I imagine Filoni and Pablo Hidalgo and everybody else were like, hold on, let's think about this for a second, you know, and really kind of take the time. So the rematch is there in the conversation. Anakin, he's dead. Anakin's dead. And Luke revives him. And that is what's beautiful about this finale.
Yeah.
That's why it's the rematch. I kind of want to see somebody supercut this fight with Revenge of the Sith, A New Hope, and Return of the Jedi. I guess even Empire, and just mix it all in so that it's like it just punches you in the chest over and over again.
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts about the finale as far as the fight goes. I love it, but it's still one of those, man, I feel like there needed to be something else. Again, I watched it really early in the morning. And and it was hot outside. I had to watch it outside. So there's that too. So there's probably elements that I'm just not remembering very well. I haven't seen it on a TV, I've seen it on a laptop. So I need to go back and rewatch it probably to really have a good feeling about it. Mm-hmm. But from what I remember and what I know I saw and what I thought about and all that, it is good. But to me, it all comes down to that conversation.
Okay, fair, 100%. And again, I think the dialogue is kind of what makes the rematch of the century tag at least work for me. But definitely the lightsaber clashing, I don't think was the rematch of the century, because still the Revenge of the Sith battle that those two have is just way too good to ever be beat, honestly. So, but the dialogue was great. All right, next kind of reflection question, just simply, PALPAMEMES, how did you feel about Reva's ending?
I thought it was fine.
Okay.
I thought it was fine. I had a few different options that one approach I thought they were going to do. I thought she was going to, end her own life whenever she's holding her lightsaber on Tatooine. That's something that I remember watching it. And I was like, wait, are they going to go that path? Is she going to die that way?
Yeah.
And that's something that I would have been interested in. If she won't let herself become the monster that is Vader, essentially. Mm-hmm. So she's going to forcefully not let her do that. Because it's like, once you fall to the dark side, it's like extremely hard to get out of it because it just takes over you.
Yeah.
And so that's something I thought. But I thought it was fine. I hope we never see her again. Unpopular opinion. I like her character. I like the idea that she wanders off, leaves her lightsaber, becomes a new person, and is unheard of ever again. Just never. We never hear of her again, because I think it'd make the most sense for her story. But I appreciated the ending. Moses' acting was phenomenal.
Yeah,
she breaks down crying since she couldn't do it. I mean, that was some good acting right there.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad they made the decision too to kind of keep her injured from Part 5's events, to give Moses that opportunity to portray the character in that injured sense, but also at the end of this, that realization that she's been bad, and all those emotions kind of coming out of her. Yeah, great acting moments there. And I'm right there with you. I'm in the middle. Like, I didn't just absolutely love her ending, but I didn't hate it either. I'm just it's fine, it's okay. Not something that just worked great for me, but I appreciate the story that they told with Reva. DJ, what about you?
I really wanted Reva to die, not because I disliked her, but because I think I just expected it.
Yeah.
But having listened to y'all talk and see, probably you said you just don't want to see her again. I totally get that. However, if she was to show up, it'd be great if they did something with the path post this series, and she's now Tala's place as a path leader. And she kind of gets roped into that group of, I don't know what to call them, rebels. I don't know if you can call them rebels, because that term hasn't really been thrown around yet at this point in the timeline. So I'll say rebels, I guess, for now, but I would like to see something like that. Maybe wrapping her story up the way that they did it with Luke was interesting, and watching Owen and Beru defend the homestead.
Oh, that's great.
Totally changes their death in episode 4 in the best way possible. I was talking to my dad today or yesterday about it, and I was like, dude, that's nuts. And he goes, I know. Like, he's thought about that too, which I'm like, I'm glad somebody who saw Star Wars in 1978 in the theater can say with me now here in 2022 that is a perfect bookend. Like, I love that I can talk to somebody who was there originally and now. But also, just looking at it, and that is great. So I guess all the things about Reva's ending, her ending actually makes everything around her better.
Yeah.
So she is a weird means to an end, I guess. So I think at the end of the day, her character lived up to certain things. I really think that she should have died probably in episode 5, and then let episode 6 breathe in what it needed to do. But I can understand that that's not how Star Wars often works. When you have a new character, see them through, as best you can anyway.
Except Tala.
They saw her through. And
I guess
little sad, but still,
she should have been there the whole way through. She should still be alive,
Yeah, she should just have hung out with Obi-Wan, and they could have done weird Tatooine missions or something. I don't know, but at the end of the day, I don't know. I guess I haven't fully processed everything yet, because I've still got to think about it. A week is not enough time for this finale, I think.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Well, I mean, we're going to be talking about this story for years to come.
Absolutely.
Years to come. All right, 2 more questions to kind of wrap up our reflection. First one is this. How did we feel about the Obi-Wan and Leia goodbye? Because that was a heavy emotional moment for me, especially when he lists the qualities of her mother that she has, the gifts of her father that she has, plus the Leia's theme finally playing in the background while he's kind of saying all of this stuff. Yeah, I admittedly, I may have wept. PALPAMEMES, what did you think of this goodbye?
Yeah, you said pretty much how I feel about that. I like that we got some closure to Obi-Wan's lies, from the beginning. And Leia, of course, understands why he did, but, it's nice knowing that Leia now knows this, and seeing that. And Obi-Wan, I think, has a clearer conscience.
Yeah.
I feel like it seems like it was something that was kind of like a weight on his shoulders the whole time. And then once he was able to let that off, like, hey, I did know your parents very, very well. And yeah, and like you said, the music and stuff, it was good.
Yeah, and I love the decision of the simple answer of Obi-Wan just saying, hey, Leia, we can't tell anybody about this. You can't act like you know me.
He's like, okay.
Yeah, and she's just with it, crazy theories that were out there of like mind wiping and blah, blah, blah. Like, no. The simplicity that they took was poetic and beautiful. Loved that. DJ, what did you think of their parting of the ways between Leia and Obi-Wan?
I didn't think they'd bring Obi-Wan to Alderaan. But as I was watching it, I was like, this is weird. And then I thought, no, this isn't. This makes sense for this story. I love that Obi-Wan has a chance to go to Alderaan on screen after all these years, because it makes that scene where he feels Alderaan's destruction heavier. So he's not just hearing, Bail die. He's hearing millions, probably die.
Yeah.
And that really adds to that. And I really think that we needed more Alderaan anyway. And the fact that we got it is fantastic. If they ever do Battlefront 3, I hope that they just make an Alderaan map just because.
Oh, it'd be great.
Just to have it. I know that nothing was fought there, but it'd be great to have something there.
Yeah.
The themes are great. Leia is great, but just that him describing, her parents.
Mm-hmm.
He never confirmed up till that point that he knew. Like he dances around it, but he never says, yeah, I knew your parents. And this is the scene where he's like, yeah, I knew him. I knew him well. I knew him better than just about anybody. And that is what's really cool. And that kind of goes back to what you talked about earlier, Caleb, with the uncle niece vibes they have going. I don't have any nieces or nephews. I do have a daughter, and she's 5 months old. So I don't get to have these kinds of conversations with her, but every time I see her, I'm like, okay, I kind of understand a lot more about the world in a weird way. And so for Obi-Wan to have that time with Leia, I'm like, okay, now he gets it. And I don't have a bond with Obi-Wan. I just get it. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but you kind of just put it in the right mindset and you're like, oh, you know what? Yeah, this is all great. This needed to happen. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have thought it would have happened on Alderaan, but I'm glad it did. And I genuinely hope this is the last time they ever see one another before New Hope. Because that it'll take away from that. Ben Kenobi, where is it? It'll take away from that. Yeah. And many things have been added to A New Hope that makes it great.
100%. And I don't think there's going to be any intention of Obi-Wan and Leia interacting again. I'm of the opinion that if there is a season 2, Vader's not going to be incorporated either. I think both Vader, Leia, they've seen Kenobi for the last time until the events of the original trilogy, and I think the endings for both of those characters in regards to Kenobi were done perfectly. All right, last question is about the 2 cameos. Palpatine showing up, communicating with Vader, and obviously, at the very end, Qui-Gon showing up as a Force ghost to communicate with Kenobi. Just great stuff overall. Honestly, I don't really have like a directed question with that, so I'm just going to open it up. PALPAMEMES, just speak to seeing Palpatine show up, how you felt about that scene, and also the craziness and importance and awesomeness of seeing a Qui-Gon Jinn Force ghost.
Yeah, I like the Palpatine. I thought it served the story well with Vader and how Vader's basically told that, he needs to just give up on Kenobi. Palpatine doesn't care about Kenobi, so Vader shouldn't either, essentially. So it kind of leads to, like, Vader wasn't hunting Kenobi for a long time before New Hope, and this kind of confirms why, or just gives a sort of explanation why. But it was cool seeing Ian back once again, but as for Qui-Gon, I liked it a lot. I think they're setting it up. I think if there is a season 2, which I do think there is, I think the whole Qui-Gon Force stuff, he hints, it says we got a long ways to go and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think they're setting it up for season 2.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those quotes that, for interpretation, it's certainly one of those moments where there could be a season 2, or it could be just like the perfect ending for them to just kind of go off into the sunset.
Yeah.
All right, DJ, what did you think of the 2 cameo moments of those 2 key legendary characters?
Palpatine needed to be there, but he needed to be there for a very specific reason. He needed to be there to give us a reason as to why Vader doesn't try to find Obi-Wan after this, because he obviously walks away from Obi-Wan. And if he really wants him dead, he's going to hunt him down. Why doesn't he? His master tells him not to. Very simple, honestly. Very, very simple. Ian McDiarmid lied to us at Star Wars Celebration. That's okay. He needed to.
So did Liam.
Yeah, Liam lied to us on Jimmy Kimmel, which that was the worst lie I've ever seen. He made Tom Holland look like he knew what he was doing. That's how bad that lie was. But no, I really like Ian being there a lot. Now, as far as Liam coming back,
I know that means a lot to you.
it does, because listen, Qui-Gon Jinn, he's the best Jedi ever.
Yeah,
he is. He's the greatest Jedi to ever live. Maybe besides Luke, right there. I also subscribe to the fan theory that Obi-Wan has Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber tucked away in his hut somewhere, and that when Luke needed a new lightsaber crystal, he uses Qui-Gon's. Now, that's just headcanon I saw somewhere on Twitter, and I accept it until otherwise disproven. But with him being there, it's such a big deal. And John Hare will corroborate this story. Me and him and another man named Ed were watching this together that morning, and we're sitting there, and he kind of rides off on the Eopie, whose name was never revealed. And so his name is still Obi-Wan Kenobi until someone says otherwise. But he's riding off on his Eopie, and we kind of, 3 of us looked at each other and was like, well, I guess that's we're not going to see Qui-Gon. And before I could even say Qui-Gon, he's there. He just comes up, and all 3 of us were like, hey, it's 6:45 in the morning. And there's a group of people. We're on the porch of the cafeteria. We're sitting in front of like a lounge area that hadn't been unlocked yet. So we're watching from a distance, and across like a decent field, we go, hi. And they're all this whole group goes and turns to see what we're doing. And they knew what we were doing, but it was really fun to like have that moment with other people, because I was like, oh, it's kind of like we're back in the movie theater.
Yeah.
And so that was a lot of fun for that reason. So it was just great that he came back. It meant a lot to me. I would have been very, very angry. Genuinely, like, and I'm not that person. I don't really get angry at Star Wars. I typically accept what they do and go on about my business, and just love what's there.
Yeah.
If he hadn't been there, I would have been very upset.
Oh yeah.
But I'm glad he's there.
Throughout the show, there were so many subtle teases to him showing up. So I felt like it was definitely going to be a given, and I'm glad that, and the execution of it was just pristine. So just all around, really enjoyed that cameo, and all around, I really enjoyed Kenobi. Like I've alluded to, I've rewatched the entire thing from beginning to end. I also kind of bookend it with watching A New Hope today, and it just flows so well. The addition to canon that this story is, it just works really nice, and I'm overall just thrilled with the show. And I was thrilled, segue here, thrilled with PALPAMEMES being able to join us this evening and kind of share his thoughts on the series. Just I'll pass it to you, PALPAMEMES, to kind of say any other final thoughts regarding the show and anything you'd like to say before you kind of get out of here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I enjoyed the show. It had its problems, of course. It was kind of a roller coaster in certain segments, but they landed it. They nailed the landing, and I love that.
Yeah.
I just thank you guys so much for having me on.
dude,
a lot of fun talking to y'all.
I'm just glad you were able to come, man. It was awesome. Glad to get an awesome guest like you. And I mean, I'll just go ahead and extend it. Anytime you want to come on board and talk Star Wars with us, you're more than welcome to, for sure. All right, DJ, any final thoughts you want to say?
I just want to say thanks to PALPAMEMES again. I mean,
You're welcome.
he put the thing out there on Twitter and said, anybody got any questions? And I just was like, here we go. You want to be on a podcast?
That was what it was for, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was so long ago.
Yeah, you were just like, you want to do it? Yeah. I was.
Ask me anything. Yeah.
I was glad. Yeah, it was an ask me anything. And I'm glad you said yes. You know, we've had other guests on the show, and every guest I actually was a guest, and now for whatever reason I'm here now because Caleb told me to. But it's cool to have somebody else out there who is a positive light in the fandom be a part of what, I got a little saucy tonight, and I don't normally. I'm very tame, but today I had some things to say. So, but with that being the case, it's nice to see other folks like us out there who are, doing the Force's work and really making sure that we all enjoy what we've got. So thank you to you. And as far as Mando Talk things go, hey, glad to be here again. And, looking forward to what we've got coming later this summer. But I guess I gotta give my new send off now, Caleb.
Yeah,
I gotta remember to do this. So peace out, Django.
Peace out, Django. Love it. All right. Well, it is time for us to get out of here. I mean, honestly, we could spend another hour talking about this show, but that's what we got the rest of the summer to do. We got the rest of the summer to kind of dissect Kenobi as we prepare for Andor. Andor is now next. Can't wait to see that story, but for us at Mando Talk, we can't wait to continue to cover Star Wars with you guys. If you want more, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, at Mando Talk on all of those platforms. If you want to kind of have one-on-one discussions, random Star Wars discussions, or just anything, join our Discord. Our Discord is in our link, and also I'll be sure to include links to PALPAMEMES channels and things that he does in our description as well. So go check out his stuff. I can't wait to see your next lightsaber video upcoming. Can't wait to see that. But all right, let's get out of here. We hope that you have a blessed remainder of your week and a blessed weekend. And as always, we have spoken.